Okay, and we're live. So, hey guys, this is Jan from DoraHacks, and welcome to the workshop of the Grant Factory Hackathon presented by Taiko. And today is the 5th workshop session. I'm super excited, and the topic today is about Taiko, the new era of L2 scalability. And before we start, let me give you some background of this hackathon. As the largest Web3 developer incentive platform, it's an honor for DoraHacks to support the Taiko, the Grant Factory hackathon. And we're looking forward to all the incredible project building on top of Taiko. Today, I'm super excited to have here Daniel Wang, co-founder and CEO at Taiko Labs. And without further ado, let's welcome him and also Joran to start. And if there's any questions from the audience in the meantime, feel free to drop them in the comment section, and then at the end we can go through them.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Jan, and thank you so much for the DoraHacks team for supporting us in this endeavor. Yeah, to give you, if this is people's first time hearing about the Grant Factory, I want to give you a little bit more information on how it works. The whole idea is that we want to inspire and empower people to build new businesses and build them on Taiko. We're going to learn a lot today about what Taiko is bringing to the L2 space and how our approach to scaling Ethereum is unique, and why this is going to be a place that you want to look at very seriously when choosing a place to deploy your projects and build your businesses, essentially. So we've put up a 100K prize pool split across 3 tracks: the work hard, play hard, and do good tracks. And we really want to give those funds to projects that are planning on building for the long term. And so you're going to be able to unlock those funds, unlock a tranche of those funds initially. But we also, to align your incentives to build long term, we will continue to unlock more funds as you build out the milestones of your grant. So at the end of the hackathon, in order to qualify for these prizes, you're going to have a project deployed on Taiko, and you're going to have a grant proposal put up to our grant committee to review and approve, so that you can continue to get funding. And this is our 5th workshop session. We have a bunch previously that are giving you technical support, entrepreneurial support, as well as grant writing support. So you can take a look at those previous videos, and we got more coming this week and the next coming weeks to really support you in your endeavors. And then we'll have a grant review a week and a half or 2 weeks for people to submit their grants and get some feedback before we get to the final submission. But that, without further ado, I want to jump into today's session. I'm super excited about it personally, to welcome Daniel, our CEO and co-founder, to talk a little bit more about what Taiko is bringing to the ecosystem. Thanks for being here, Daniel.
All right. Thank you, Jan, for working with Taiko. And of course, this great introduction from Jorin. The slide I want to share today is really simple. Actually, it's just one single page slide with like a few animations. I want to talk about what is Taiko and what we want to build. I'm not trying to sell this platform for you. I have been trying to sell this idea to myself, because I used to have this idea to develop like a decentralized social network, and then I figure out most of the Ethereum layer 2s are very centralized, right? Centralized the sequencer, centralized the control, centralized the governance. There are always some components that are centralized. So I want to build a different one. But what we offer is more than just the decentralization. So I'm going to just walk through the very important like building blocks of Taiko, so that you can learn about Taiko. You can understand why we want to build yet another layer 2. So the first one is Taiko is really type 1 EVM. Being type 1 means you can prototype your app elsewhere, on Ethereum, on Ethereum testnet, on other layer 2s, with either type 1 or very EVM equivalent. But Taiko itself is 100% EVM equivalent. By that, I mean, we don't really modify anything. The current EVM's version is the Shanghai fork. We don't modify anything. We keep the gas price as is. We don't have any new features because new feature will break compatibility. So if you use Taiko as your test bed for your new app, it connects with Ethereum layer 1, and the cost is really low. It's almost like a 0.001 cent or something per transaction. So it's basically free. You can even use Taiko mainnet as your test net, right? So it's super inexpensive as of now. I think this is very important because we don't ask you to learn new things. You can just assume Taiko is Ethereum, but scaled in the right way. So this is already done, achieved, mission accomplished. As our mainnet launch, this is the fact. We are also based. Being based is a new term. Some people don't really understand what based is, but actually it's just very simple. You don't have a collection of supernode or centralized sequencer. You don't have a new layer of consensus, right? You just say, okay, whoever want to propose block, whoever who want to sequence transactions, you can just do it. We don't have any permission, right? So after like a week or two, I cannot remember, and then we just removed all the permission. So Taiko has been permissionless in terms of block proposing and proving for quite a few months, and this work works pretty well. So permissionless enables decentralization, right? So if you have some control, then the set of proposers will be limited, right? Although this is permissionless, but for the long run, if there are MEV opportunities, if there are other money-making opportunities, the L1 sequencer, the L1 validator, because they ultimately have the right to control L1 block sequencing, right? So they will indirectly have access to L2 block sequencing. So that means, Taiko's eventually all the Taiko blocks will probably built by L1 validators, not any other entities, which is also fine because on L1 we have more than 1 million validators. It's decentralized enough. So Taiko, we sometimes even claim Taiko is as decentralized as layer 1 because we rely on the same set of actors to secure this layer 2. So this is very different from all the existing solution. Sometimes people say, hey, it's okay to have a decentralized layer 2. But I would say the reason that we embrace blockchain technology, we love Ethereum, is because this is decentralized, right? Permissionless. No other attributes, no other features should, override this feature, right? This feature is the most important feature. That's why we are here. And unfortunately, most of the current layer 2s, they don't have this permissionlessness, right? So it's like they run like a company. And Taiko try to to bootstrap this layer 2, and then we don't run it, we don't own it. So that's the point. This is also achieved 2 weeks, 1 week after the mainnet launch. On the other hand, we don't want to be more expensive than other layer 2. We don't want to have less transactions than other layer 2s. The technology that we use is actually the same approach as all the other ZK rollup or rollups in general. So as of now, the only downside of being a base rollup is that we have to guarantee liveness by proposing blocks every, for example, 24 or 36 seconds, right? So even the block is not big enough, we cannot afford waiting. So that's the only downside. But the impact is that Taiko's per transaction cost on chain is higher than other non-based rollups. But we have a solution for that. But in general, if you look at the transaction throughput, the fees on layer 2 is on par with other layer tools. This is fine because decentralization comes with a price. You cannot say, hey, we are decentralized and we are even cheaper and then more scalable, higher throughput than other layer tools. You have to sometimes sacrifice some features, right? So this is the throughput and fees. We are sacrificing these factors, these metrics, but we have a solution. So I think right now, if you compare Taiko with other layer tools, is on par. And sometimes it's even based on the implementation, is even cheaper in terms of base fees. The next point I want to mention is Taiko is fully open source. If you look at our code base, you realize our based contextual rollup protocol is very elegant and simple. It's not hard to understand. Actually, it's maybe even easier, arguably, than other layer tools, because other layer tools have this centralized sequencer design, which is part of their protocol, right? But Taiko's protocol is purely on-chain. All the off-chain part, it just follow the rules defined in the smart contract. You look at other layer tools, their smart contract doesn't really define all the protocol rules. The centralized sequencer is also part of their protocol rules. So I think we are proud that our code base is really optimized and simplified to make sure the maintenance is easy. The upgradability can be achieved easily. We also consider this is done. But in the future, I think when ZK is mature, when ZK, there's no bug in ZK proofs, we can even further simplify our design by removing some features that we don't need. For example, right now we have multi-tier design. You can use ZK, you can use SGX proofs. But in the future, if ZK is cheap enough, we can remove SGX. We can use ZK alone, right? But that's maybe in 3 years. Something about ZK, right? So right now, we still believe ZK is the best proof. However, it's very expensive. We are working with partners to make sure they are cheap enough to be integrated into Taiko mainnet. But this quarter, we are going to launch ZK. Probably not 100% coverage, but we will grow from a lower percentage to 100%, maybe over the next 12 months. The point is we don't want people to trust us, right? I trust my engineers, but I don't want developers or users to trust us, right? It's not the point. The point is you trust our protocol design, the smart contracts. You trust the ZK proof. You trust math, right? Eventually. So this is not done, but it's going to be done very soon in Q4 this year, which is this quarter. We are testing ZK in our Hekla testnet, and we are going to integrate very soon in the mainnet. The next milestone is actually launching the Taiko DAO, which has been designed and implemented by Aragon, our partner. And we are actually testing the DAO infrastructure on Hekla as of now. We identified a few issues, and then we try to work with Aragon again to improve the design and implementation. I want Taiko to become ownerless. By that I mean, I don't want Taiko Labs, this entity, to have any permission that is special, right? We only we need to give ownership to token holders, to the community, so that collectively they decide what feature to be added in, what's the next milestone, So they should own this layer 2. Taiko Labs, as a for-profit company, we probably want to this company may still remain, but it's not going to be the entity that owns this blockchain. We are setting up the Security Council. We are inviting external people to be part of the Security Council or committee, and at least 50% of the members are going to be external people, and Taiko's engineers, co-founders collectively will be up to like half of the members. So the goal is, if we are forced to make some decisions, we still cannot change the Taiko's settings. It needs a super majority of the security committee, and then eventually needs the DAO's the token voters decision to make sure we make the right decision, right? We don't want to be forced by any government or agency or companies to do certain evil things. So that's really the whole point. The goal is to launch DAO in Q2 next year. But is this DAO launching? I think I'm going to be satisfied if we launch DAO anywhere next year. It doesn't have to be Q2. In Q2, I think we are going to be ready. The reason I said that is because we want to have very fast pre-confirmation. So this is the priority. What is pre-confirmation? Pre-confirmation means like if you want to use blockchain to make a payment, right? With Ethereum, you wait for 12 seconds to get a confirmation. With some other blockchain, even some layer 1, you can get like a 1 second, sub-1 second confirmation. I think recently there's another layer 2 claim to have like sub-second pre-confirmation. But that cannot be a base rollup, because base rollup, if you propose the block is built every like second, you will propose like a lot of blocks on chain, which means the layer 1 cost is going to be 10 times maybe than the current Taiko's cost. We don't want that to happen. So we want to have sub-second confirmation or pre-confirmation of transactions. But in the meanwhile, we want to make sure we don't really overuse the Ethereum resources, right? We don't want to overuse the blob data or call data or even like EVM computational resources, because the cost is really a serious concern. So this pre-confirmation means like you can see your transaction going into the next block. Well, the next block is keep changing to include more transactions. You can see it happens in real time in Explorer, in your local node, and you know that once the transaction is included in this ever-changing block, it will never revert. It will never get discarded from this block, and then eventually one like maybe a few seconds later or a minute later, maybe this pre-confirmation block is going to be finalized as a real block, which is really big, and this block only is going to be proposed on layer 1 like with 1 transaction, right? So the cost is still very minimum. Actually, compared to the current solution, the cost is going to be optimized, because right now we propose every like 24, 36 seconds. But with pre-confirmation, if there are not a lot of transactions, you only need to propose a block like a minute, every minute, every 2 minutes, right? Which is very good. And in the meanwhile, the user will feel like, the transaction goes into the next block like milliseconds later, right? So we are working with a few very important partners like Nethermind, like Gattaca, to explore like different design choices. We even launched a private testnet with those teams, and actually the day before yesterday, I saw the demo from Nethermind. Sorry, the feel is it's like you are using a Web2 service, not using a blockchain. I think pre-confirmation will actually outcompete the L1s with like a 1 second, 2 second block time. This is a new technology that I'm really passionate about, and the goal is to launch pre-confirmation somewhere in 2025 next year. But we may see like testnet version of the pre-confirmation even earlier. It's just we need to make some final decisions regarding like which part of the system that the user need to be aware. Whether this solution is still elegant enough that pre-confers, or the party who are performing the pre-confirmation, who are actually the F1 validators, they feel like, hey, this solution in the overall complexity, the risk is manageable, so that they want to opt in, right? If this is too much, this is too risky, then they will be scared, right? They will not opt in. So right now, I think it's really just the time to make decisions where exactly the implementation will look like. I believe Taiko will probably the first base layer to launch pre-confirmation. Of course, Taiko is probably right now the only base layer rollup in production. But I heard some other people say, hey, they're also building like a base rollup. The last step is, all the previous steps, we try to solve a few issues. First, we want to make sure decentralization is built in, right? Permissionless is built in. Ownerless as a feature is built in. We want to make sure from the user's perspective, the transaction confirmation user experience is highly close to the Web2 user experience. And in the meanwhile, we want to make sure the cost per transaction for Taiko is also very optimized. So these are the set of like objectives that the first 7 items on my slide will try to solve. But there's another issue. We are seeing so many layer 2s launching their mainnet. Every layer 2 project is trying their very best to acquire liquidity, right? So basically, they just mint a new token and use those tokens to buy liquidity from liquidity provider and hope that the liquidity will stay. But most of the liquidity won't stay, because eventually the layer 2 team will run out of incentive, and then smart money will move to another project to hunt for those rewards, right? Is there a way to make liquidity stay in one place and available to all the layer 2s, so the new layer 2s, they don't have to fight for liquidity? I think there is a solution. So that's what our Gwyneth's team is trying to solve. Like a year ago, our CTO proposed the idea called based booster rollup. So basically, the key point is, they say, okay, all the liquidity providers, just put your money on Ethereum or on a layer 2, a base layer 2 or something, and then all the other layer 2s connect to this layer 2 will be able to share liquidity in a synchronous way. So you don't have to move your fund to another layer 2, or you don't have to move your fund from layer 2 to layer 1 and do a trade and then back to layer 2, right? So you can just access the liquidity on L1 from layer 2 with a cross-chain function call, right? A new opcode that we have proposed to add to Ethereum EVM. So this liquidity fragmentation issue, if it can be solved, that means when we have new technology to develop a new layer 2, we only need to make sure this layer 2 scales from a technical perspective. You don't have to think about like operational, right? You don't have to think, hey, how do we market? How do we get liquidity so that user will start using this chain? Because otherwise, if there's no liquidity, no DeFi, no like Oracle, then this chain is useless, right? So nowadays, you have to do this for every chain. The goal is to enable it somewhere and make it shareable, make it accessible to all the new chains. Then, that problem can be solved. We are going to launch Gwyneth a testnet in this quarter. And then somewhere next year, I think we will have a public testnet, which is probably all the nodes can be run by anyone who download the nodes software. The first testnet, I'm not sure. I'm still we're still making the decision. So the first one will just be a demo and then let developer to experience how you can envision how this technology will enable the liquidity fragmentation solution. But as of now, the roadmap for Greenis is kind of in flux. We still haven't made a concrete roadmap regarding when to release, but I think this idea is pretty cool, and there are quite a few team who are interested in base rollup and a booster rollup. We also hope to collaborate with those teams. And if you happen to be a developer working on infrastructure, and you are fascinated by this idea of solving liquidity fragmentation issue, which is big, let us know. Maybe we can work together. Maybe we can give a special grant to this effort. So you can see that Taiko is just trying to solve all the important issues. And in my word, I would say, we want to scale Ethereum, but we want to scale it in the right way, right? So you can see how Taiko is different from other layer 2s in terms of vision and roadmap. We don't work on our own ZK EVM or ZK VM no more. This is an area we say, okay, we need a really dedicated team to work on, and we are open to working with them as partners, but we are not going to engineer ZK proofs ourselves. But all the other features, solutions that we work on, I think they are all very important. And if these are all available now, then I would say Ethereum is really scaled. I still think maybe it needs like 1 year or 2 years. If we do well in Taiko, if you can help us to do even better, I think maybe after 1 year, the first 7 items on my slide will be done. And the liquidity fragmentation issue, the booster rollup may take a little bit longer because it's more challenging, and it also eventually requires Ethereum to add opcode, which takes time. But I think Ethereum Foundation will probably also look into this later, because this is a real problem among layer 2s. So that's it. I think this is the one slide I want to share. I hope you like Taiko. I hope you realize Taiko is different, and I hope that you like base rollup, the idea of a permissionless and ownership, ownerless layer 2. If so, either you can build your apps on top of Taiko, or you can just build components that will be part of Taiko. We welcome all these efforts. Jory, I'm done.
Awesome. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Daniel. I made a couple notes. I got some questions here. Just want to remind any of the folks that are listening, watching live, drop your questions in the chat, and I can ask Daniel here. But I'm going to kick things off with my own questions. So you mentioned that Taiko is open source, and I think that's the bare minimum for building in the Web3 space. I've gotten a couple questions from people in the community on how they can contribute. So is there any kind of open questions? And you might have touched on some of the pieces there, like the ZK piece there. But is there any open kind of issues that you would want to highlight for people to take a peek at?
I think initially you just clone Taiko's repo and play with it, right? And you ask yourself, hey, well, can I add a feature? Maybe this feature enable me to launch a Taiko clone, another layer 2. I welcome people to play with the code base, because if you don't do that, it's really hard for you to make a new feature. I think pre-confirmation really is the next narrative for layer 2s. I cannot imagine what Taiko will be without pre-confirmation in a year, because the user experience is not as good as centralized secret-based layer 2, right? Because being centralized has the advantage, has the benefit of offering like real-time confirmation of things, right? But if a decentralized layer 2 can also do that and lower the cost, that would be great, right? So I have two like predictions. Like first, like in about 2 years, 3 years, a lot of layer 2s will be based. And then a lot of layer 2s will have pre-confirmation. Of course, if we build pre-confirmation and make it open source, of course, we are going to open source everything. Other people will just, maybe they will make certain changes, but they will embrace this idea. So if you want to explore like new business model, maybe pre-confirmation, you can build certain components to serve user directly. So there are a lot of opportunities there. Just like MEV, right? The MEV have an industry new small sector there. Pre-confirmation may have another one. So if you are interested in some new things, maybe pre-confirmation is something you want to explore. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We got some questions coming in from the audience. One is about something I know we've talked personally about, and it says here, how do you envision decentralized social media application working on Taiko, and just your ideas around that, and is it already supported entirely with Taiko as it stands right now?
I think right now it's still not, without pre-confirmation, the user experience still may have problem depending on your what type of social network you want to build, right? What kind of activities you want to be on chain, right? So, but eventually, I think even if with pre-confirmation, it's still need to be tested whether a layer 2 can be good enough to support like a social network that have like tens of millions of active users, daily user, right? I still don't know whether that's possible. Maybe we need more like a data space, like blobs from Ethereum. That's, Ethereum, they are debating whether they want to change the number of blobs from 3 to 6, So we probably need more data space. We probably need even cheaper ZK or validity proofs, right? So, but you don't want to wait for all these things to become available. You want to prototype, you want to do it now, because acquiring the user still takes time. So, optimization, the new solution takes time. You can build like Firecaster, you can acquire user along the way, right? When the technology is better, then your app is probably it's easier for your app to acquire even more users. I think I will, if I have bandwidth, I want to build a information, like a publishing platform, something like that. At least if, for example, if you want to share something, and you make sure nobody can take your content away. Everybody always have access to your article. Nobody can block it. Isn't that cool? You don't have to publish article every day, but as long as you have a thought, you want to, make it available to the world, it will be there forever, open for access. I think that idea is very, very cool. Of course, you can do it. You can use Ethereum right now, but it's still very expensive, right? Yeah. For people who joined the Ethereum ecosystem like a few years, maybe you spend like $10, like $5, it's okay. But if you ask the world to, everyone who want to express their idea to pay like $10 per article, it is insane, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think pre-confirmations is going to help as well to make things faster, because like in a social network, you want to wait like a full block cycle to just like something or to leave a comment on something. So I think that's something that Taiko is setting itself up to be really attractive for a social platform, and as well as all of the other things that we bring to the table. A question along those lines is, will pre-confirmations make transactions even cheaper, because we're taking we're making the blocks blob space on Ethereum the more efficient, filling them to the max kind of thing?
Yes. So right now we propose blocks at a constant interval, almost constant interval. Because if we don't do that, then people say, hey, the Taiko blockchain is down, right? So we have to do it. Even if the block is small, we only use like 10% of the blob space. So if with pre-confirmation, we can wait until the blob is fully filled and then propose block. Because from the user's perspective, the liveness of the chain or the liveness of their transaction is not depending on a new block to be available. It's depends on the pre-confirmation or a virtual block or something. I don't have a name for that. So you got a receipt, or your trusted gateway or delegate get a signed receipt, say your transaction will be in the next block. Even if it's not in the next block or the next block is not available, then you still are confident that it's assured, it is mathematically verifiable, and the operator will be slashed if they don't include your transaction, right? So that it's going to be cheaper. I mean, the transaction is going to be like maybe 10 times cheaper than it is now from a cost perspective.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And you already mentioned that we're already pretty close to what other L2s are providing currently. So to become even cheaper and faster, I think we're really setting ourselves up for success there. That's
right.
Great.
But don't take me wrong. It's going to be cheaper, but I'm not saying it's going to be 10 times cheaper than other layer 2s.
Right.
So
right.
I think that the best possibility is that we are on par in terms of cost.
Right. Cheaper than Ethereum, and also faster than Ethereum.
It's faster, right. So still the permissionlessness and decentralization comes with a cost. If you ignore that cost, if you say, hey, there's no cost, I don't think there's such a good thing.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course. Great. You mentioned the DAO. I'm a huge DAO proponent. I would love to see more organizations in like the quote unquote real world, the meat space, use DAO functionalities as their backbone. Can you tell us more about what users, what ecosystem participants might expect from our DAO? Like voting on things, like what kinds of things will they have control over as a token holder?
I think they are going to collectively own all the smart contracts ownership. So all the upgradability, all the configuration changes will be subject to the DAO's votes, and all the token belong to the DAO or to the community. All the token that doesn't belong to the Taiko labs, initially, if you look at our pie chart, initially 50% of the total supply belongs to the DAO, right? And we are giving away some to, for example, what's the Ethereum Foundation called developer? Can I remember the entity? We donate like 1% to the Ethereum call developers. We also airdrops a certain percentage. We also airdrop into the Trailblazer, and we still have like 10% or something for the next 2-year Trailblazer budget. All these things, these allocation are going to be owned by the DAO. So in the future, if we spend money from the DAO's treasury, it's up to the DAO or token holder to vote. We cannot just make the sole decision to say, hey, let's do this. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you mentioned we're building our DAO with the Aragon framework. I presume that this would also then, because Aragon's configurable, that this is also a tool that the community can use to build their own DAOs and build out the ecosystem of DAOs on Taiko as well.
Yes, if you look at the open source project from Aragon, on their GitHub account, you can search Taiko contract or something, and you can see open source the DAO design and implementation. It's also I think it's MIT licensed. We don't really want to control who can use it. It's open source. It's very friendly. So anyone who want to launch a similar DAO can just use it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Jordan, I want to mention that the DAO is different from any other DAO. So
Tell us.
That means, that means some people will like it, some people will dislike it, but it's okay. We want to try to, we don't want to be spammed by like a really terrible proposals. So there are some difference from other DAOs. So take a look. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to give us a hint on how they're different, or you want people to go take a look themselves?
I don't want everybody to look at the DAO contract themselves, but we are going to have an article, and I don't want to just leak the content. So if the article is out, and please take a look. It's fairly easy. Okay. Fairly easy to digest.
Understood. Makes sense. Okay, so like moving into like the topic of the hackathon, what would be your kind of dream project? What would you love to see come out of the hackathon? And then any kind of advice that you would give just in general to people that are thinking about building a project, thinking about how to build their business in the Web3 space, because you've successfully done a couple of projects already. So any insight you can give on these topics would be really appreciated.
So in terms of like what kind of apps I like, I think I really like a social network and content like publishing, those kind of apps, because I hope that blockchain can enable amplify the freedom of speech so that everyone can have a chance to express themselves. What Taiko doesn't offer is a built-in privacy protocol or something. So there's no privacy feature that you can take as is. I also welcome people to deploy privacy-preserving apps or protocols. So those two games, of course. So I like Web3 games. If you have ideas, we have I think we have a even grant for games. So our BD people are super interested in Web3 games. So if you build a game, you talk to Joaquin, our head of BD. What else? I think these are good examples. I don't actually have experience to share if you start your business. I mean, I was talking to my friend this afternoon, and he asked me, what contributed to your success. I said 80% luck, 20% hard work. So you have to avoid bad decisions. So if the path, if the direction you go to is wrong, it don't work too hard because you will fail badly. I mean, you have to be smart, make the right decision. If what you do is more what you want to do, it's more important than how you do it. So with Taiko, I think we just made the right decision. The first base rollup, right? When I said that, when I started Taiko, I was almost a year after I invested in Scroll, right? So, and now we have a really good narrative based. Everybody loves based, and I believe a pre-confirmation is the next thing that people will talk a lot. Even now, I think some people talk about pre-confirmation, but most users, they don't understand, they don't notice. But if you ask Justin Drake, a few other from Ethereum Foundation researchers, they think about pre-confirmation all day long, right? So that's the next big thing for layer 2s. So I sorry to repeat myself. So if you are developers, try to learn.
Okay, yeah, I think those are all my questions. And I think that covers all the questions that we're going to answer from the community. So yeah, I just want to extend another amazing thank you to Daniel for coming and sharing his thoughts on what Taiko is bringing to the greater Web3 ecosystem. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
Not really.
Yeah, no, it's great. We covered a lot of ground, and everything was it was great information. I think people listening in and are going to get a lot out of it. Yeah, so I think we're going to finish up the session for the day. Jan, did you have anything to say at the end here?
All good on my end. So also on behalf of DoraHacks, thank you so much for this presentation. I think it was very insightful to learn more about Taiko and the future. There will be 2 more workshops this week and also 1 next week. So for the hackers listening, feel also free to tune in and learn more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for today.
Yeah. And if you guys have any more questions that weren't answered, head over to our Discord and we'll be able to take care of you there.
Cool.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.